Hi, I'm Rick Hofling. At United Airlines, we believe that all citizens need to be informed about the important issues that affect their lives and their communities. That's why we're proud to support the Make a Difference programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, which supports early childhood education through Grow Up Great, a multi-year initiative to help prepare children from birth to age 5 for success in school and life. The New Jersey Education Association, PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities. Cohn Resnick, accounting, tax, and advisory, where forward thinking creates results. And by United Airlines.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. More importantly, for the first time, let me welcome to the public television audience Michael J. Smith, president of Berkeley College. Good to see you, Michael.
Thank you, Steve.
For those who do not know Berkeley, describe it.
Berkeley College is going into its 85th year of existence. We started as a finishing school for women in East Orange, New Jersey, gravitated into a greatly known secretarial school, to now where we're offering bachelor's degrees, and coming this year we'll be offering master's degrees.
This whole transition, we were talking right before we got on the air. So the whole key is graduation, getting students to graduate. First of all, describe, I don't know if I'd call it the typical student at Berkeley, but you get some students who have been challenged and who otherwise may not even have an opportunity to experience higher education. Fair to say?
It's very important to say that. What happens is that, in the economy we're in now, credentials are important. Employers are still looking for degrees. The difference in having a degree and not can be $500,000, $1 million a year over the course of your lifetime.
Is that true?
It's true. And the reality is that, when you're making a student to make an investment, colleges are expensive. Someone can, typical college debt is $30,000 coming out for a school like Berkeley. It's expensive, and when you don't have a lot of resources, it looks like a lot. If someone said to you, would you spend $30,000 to make $500,000, $1 million over the course of your lifetime?
Good
typically,
deal.
Very good deal. But in the midst of it, while people are challenged with, paying their bills and commutation, taking care of their families, and just living life, it's a challenge.
Talk about, it's interesting because we've had a relationship with Berkeley. We've known students there for a while. We've interviewed some of them, and I've talked on your campus a few times about leadership and other issues and overcoming challenges. I've met some of your students. I actually spoke at your graduation a few years back. I've been struck by, seriously, the challenges that some of them face. Describe for our audience some of those challenges, and I don't just mean economic challenges.
There's personal challenges. Students coming into school now are having a whole slew of very, very difficult things. And when you hear their stories, Berkeley has 8,000 students. And the way I look at it, and when I talk to our associates who work at Berkeley, there's 8,000 stories. Each person is unique. There's no typical student. And when you hear the challenges and things that they go through to, to get an education, to better their lives, you really have a much deeper appreciation of
How
really
diverse?
What they're going from. Very diverse. It's very
all over
diverse.
The world.
Berkeley attracts students from all over the world, 150 different countries. We have upwards of about 900 international students right now. But it's a domestic students. It's the students from New Jersey, New York, that have come through K through 12 education that perhaps are not getting the best education possible. The challenges with school and the school funding at this point and the amount of resources. So they're not really coming prepared as well as they have been historically to be able to do college level work. And when you're an employer in New York or New Jersey, the reality is that doesn't matter to you. You need someone who has the ability to do the job. So what we do at Berkeley is that we have professors who have real-world experience. They have credentials, they have their doctorates, but they work and they know what it needs to be successful for a student in the workplace. We educate them, we give them the skills, not only in the theory, but in the practice.
What are you looking for? What are most, sorry for interrupting, Michael. What do you believe most employers are looking for in hiring someone today?
They want someone who has the ability to communicate clearly, someone who looks professional, someone who's going to represent their organization well, someone who has the ability to think, someone who has the ability to put diverse thoughts from different concepts, put it together, package it, and come up with a conclusion.
Teaching that, I'm interested in the whole idea of someone says, well, I'm studying business or I'm studying creative arts. Does it matter what you are studying when it comes to what you just described?
There's the schools of liberal arts, which are very good, which are, classically, will teach you in thinking and being able to put pieces together. Right now, employers are looking for someone who's job ready on day one, and that's what Berkeley College does, because we have professors who've been there, who work in the real world, and they know from a practical perspective what it's going to take to be successful.
Name some of the most significant programs. We've talked to a lot of college presidents, and what I'm fascinated by, Michael, is the different areas, the academic areas of concentration. Some of the areas of concentration that matter most at Berkeley include?
We have our business degrees, which of course, with the traditional strength of Berkeley. But you see right now there's a lot of interest in criminal justice. We've had histories, with fashion management.
Go back to criminal justice, because I know the cybersecurity area is big. Talk about that.
Cybersecurity is very big. I mean, the reality, but that, cybersecurity is interesting because that takes not only skills and technology, but the ability to think and be able to think a couple steps ahead of someone who's trying to penetrate a system. So it's important. You need the ability to communicate. You need the ability to think. You need to be able the ability to work with diverse groups of people.
Criminal
and skills.
justice, business, fashion. What else?
Medical. Medical is one of the largest employment opportunities now in the U.S. and projected to be in the future. So we train students for the medical fields.
You met with students recently. It's interesting, the college presidents who are the best often engage students directly, because there are a lot of layers often between a president of a university or college and students. You met with your students recently. When you were talking to them, A, what was your message to them? And B, just as important, if not more important, what were they saying to you, Michael?
Most important message from me to them is graduation. Every time I see them, the first question I ask them, when are you graduating? When they have a clear sense in their mind as to what their graduation date is going to be, they can make that real. Sometimes students come in, they're unsure of their ability to be able to do the work. You need to convince them and bring out the strength that exists already within them to be able to succeed. So it's graduation, graduation, graduation. I talk to them as to what their graduation date's going to be. Then I'll talk to them too about what their grades are. How are your grades? How are you doing in school? What are you learning? And then my final question is, what can I do to make the school better? And you get a lot of information from the students.
Suggestions, concrete suggestions.
Very concrete, because we have a electronic way of delivering course materials to our students. We rolled it out. It's certainly what state of the art is, but a number of students have problems with the technology. It's interesting, something that looks great on the screen of your laptop doesn't necessarily look great on the screen of your mobile device.
How it translates onto another platform.
And that's exactly what it is. And some of our students now are doing coursework and reading their textbooks or the text materials on cell phones. So those are the kind of things you need to be on top of. They want to know what the pricing of various different fees are. They want to know the availability of classes. They want accessibility of teachers. They want programs being offered at different places at different times. So you get real world experience and real world knowledge from the students, because in essence, from a business term, there are customers, and customers now are very demanding, and that's good for us, because the more that our students expect from us, the more that we have the obligation, expectation of raising our game. And when we raise our game for one student, we raise our game for all students.
As you talk about this, leadership is a lot about listening. What would you say the biggest lesson you learned about being a leader is, not just as the president of Berkeley, but you spent many years before that at Berkeley as well in other positions. So number one lesson you learned about leadership is?
As you named it, listening. I mean, the ability to hear what people are saying and listening emphatically to what they're really saying, not to smile on someone's face, to say yes, nod your head, and then move on to something else. When you hear and you listen to what's going on and you really get to someone's heart, you can really understand what's important to them. And as I said, 8,000 students at Berkeley, 8,000 stories. When you hear those stories and you understand the challenges that our students are going through, you're going to work extra hard to make sure that they not only succeed, but they graduate. I want them to walk across a graduation stage. I want them to shake my hand. If they want to give me a hug, I'll give them a hug. But on the other side of the stage, I want them to have a great, exciting career.
Leadership is a lot about listening. Michael J. Smith, president of Berkeley College, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you, Michael.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're pleased to welcome Barbara Blackwell, who is Director, School of Nursing, Holy Name Medical Center. Good to see you, Barbara.
Good to meet you.
The nursing profession has changed dramatically. I was going to say in the last 10 years. I'm thinking in the last few, right?
Oh, well, yes, very much so. It
Describe
really has
it.
changed. There's so much more technology. There's so much more pressure, you know, with the regulations and everything that's coming down at this point. Nurses have to do a lot, and they have to learn very quickly, and they have to be able to think on their feet. And so it really has changed a lot.
You know, go back to when you decided to be a nurse.
Oh, we're going way
no,
back.
It's not that way back. Let me ask you this. When you decided, what was the key?
I think the key was the idea, and I hate to be, you know, trite from what people say, but I did want to help people. And
That's not trite.
And I did want to do something where I had a personal connection with people. And I felt that nursing would give me that. So, because I actually, which is, I think, rather interesting, I actually was going to be pre-med. And I made a conscious decision to become a nurse.
In your mind, the direct access to patients for nurses, is it more important than ever before post-Affordable Care Act?
Absolutely.
Talk about
I think that, you know, even with the influx of technology and everything that's happened, that touch, we cannot lose that touch and that connection that we get with people. You know, they call it now high tech, but we also have to be high touch. We have to have the patient.
Can you be both?
Yes, you can.
Just give me an example. I'll put you on the spot. Give me an example. People say, hey, listen, technology today, so much of it drives healthcare. You don't need as much of the human touch because you can move things quickly through technology. You say...
But that personhood, who we are, there's a person in that bed, and that person is a mother, a father, a son, a daughter. You know, that you can't lose that person in all the technology and everything. You have to let that person know that they count and that they're important. And I think that that is even far more important than the technology. The technology gives us information, but I believe that it's the relationship that we make with people and with that patient that helps to move that patient toward health or toward whatever end that there might be.
As you talk about this, there's been a lot of research on the concept of empathy. You know? A recent article in the New York Times talked about a study that has been done on empathy and whether, A, you can teach it, B, whether it's ingrained in certain people. The concept of empathy for nurses, do you think most of those in the School of Nursing have it going in, or it has to be taught and honed as they are in the school and ultimately out there dealing with patients? Loaded question, I know.
Oh, I think it's both, honestly. I think there's some who come in with that natural feeling, that empathy and that caring, but I think it can also be taught to a certain extent. The first thing I tell people when they come to our open houses is that we are a small school with a big heart. And I think that's of the school and of the medical center. We have a big heart. I feel like once you come into Holy Name, whichever entrance you come in, you become part of Holy Name family. And I sincerely believe that. And I'm lucky that my faculty believe it, and that's something that we really try to inculcate in all of our students. And that starts the touch. I believe that that starts with the education. You know, and I sincerely believe education changes lives. And that's always been my personal mission. Education changes lives.
Do you believe there's actually a culture? We've talked about this. Mike Marin, your CEO, and I have had a lot of conversations about this. And the work that Holy Name has been doing in Haiti is not insignificant and not by accident, right? How much of the culture and the mission of Holy Name is driven by that mission?
I believe we live our mission. We live it through education. We live it in the medical center. It becomes a part of who we are. And I don't believe that you can come into Holy Name and not learn that and not become part of it. And I think it's just something that is just so ingrained in us. And I'm not a Holy Name grad. I came to Holy Name from a hospital in the city, but it's something that I sincerely believe in. And I believe that it moves. You know, it lives, it breathes, it moves through everything that's the hospital and that's the school.
So talk about this. Talk about post-Affordable Care Act. Talk about the concept that nurses are expected to do more than ever before. And you told our producers that nurses need to be more, quote unquote, entrepreneurial. You use that expression. And I'm thinking, entrepreneurial, what, start a business? But that's not what you mean. No. Operationalize the concept of being entrepreneurial for a nurse. I'm not sure what that means.
I think that nurses have to be able to be self-directed, to be advocates, to be all that. You know, when I first came into nursing, it was, you know, I can't say it was just about patient care, but it was about patient care, doing this and doing that. But our minds have to be much broader than that now, because we have to be very well educated in the changes that are going on in healthcare. And I don't mean just as administrators at the bedside. We have to know what's going on. We have to know what affects our practice, and we have to become very much involved in that. We have to be educated to be involved in that. And that's, again, something that we try to teach our students from day one.
Is that entrepreneurial?
Well, I think it's part of that piece of it, because, you know, that really is part of the business piece of it. You know, you have to be able to move forward. You have to be able to be part of the whole infrastructure that is healthcare, that is nursing, that is the medical center, that's where you work. You have to be involved. And it used to be, okay, I go to work and I go home.
Not enough.
Can't be that anymore.
Do you have to be a leader?
You have to be a leader.
So let me ask you about that.
I believe that you have to be a leader at the bedside. You have to be a leader as a student. Our students, we have a whole student council that's very much involved in the school. You have to learn how to be a leader, and you have to be a leader for your patient also.
Back up. You have to learn to be a leader, so I'm going to ask you. You've learned to be a leader over a few years as a nurse,
yes,
and as a nurse leader. What would you say the biggest lesson you learned about leadership is?
I believe that leadership can be caring. I really do, and I think that
can be or must be.
I think it must be caring also. I think that you do more when you inspire, and that you get more people to follow you as you inspire. I believe that leadership has to be something that changes as time changes.
How about someone says, this is my approach to leadership, this is what I do, I tell people exactly what needs to be done, and I don't change for anyone. Good leader?
No. Because I think that then you're going to, I believe that there has to be inspiration. There has to be something that people have to understand what your mission is, what your purpose is, and they have to buy in. And then you get to have sort of a groundswell, and people start to move towards you and with you. You know, I think that you get more from inspiration sometimes than you get from perspiration almost. Yeah. You know, I think that, you know, and I have to say, I think of Mike, you know, because we see his vision. We understand Mike Maron, yes. And we all call him Mike. You know, you all understand what his vision is for our institution. He makes that very clear. So you have to have that groundswell so that everyone's moving in the same direction and that everybody takes it to heart, so to speak, and that they give their all to it and all to the mission. And I think that's how we have been so successful in Holy Name. And
just to fully disclose something, we were actually, our production team, with our executive producer, Jen Eichlin, is going to be heading to Haiti at some point in the next several months to, without going into a lot of detail, you can go on your website to find out the folks at Holy Name are doing a lot of work in Haiti for a hospital that's been dealing with the suffering in Haiti for a long time, and our crew is going to be going there and documenting some of that suffering and also some of the important work that's being done to help the people of Haiti. In 2016, we'll be going there. So listen, I want to thank you for joining us and not just talking about the future of nursing, but about leadership and why nurses are so important in this changing world of healthcare. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're pleased to be joined by Ellen Davenport, who is the former chairman of the board and now a board member at Family Connections, an organization around for 135 years. That does what?
Well, it's a community-based social services agency delivering social services, courses, clinics, help, therapy.
Bring it back to children, because we're talking about children and the whole effort to have children grow up great, and people who know public television know that we talk about that all the time. Domestic violence and its impact on children. Talk about it.
It's a real traumatic event. And no matter what age they are, whether they're infants or they're a little bit older, it is a trauma that will last with them their whole life unless something intervenes. And Family Connections has a program that addresses that for children and for their parents, and it's called DREAMS.
DREAMS?
Yes.
Talk about it.
It's a therapeutic creative arts program which aims to make both children and parents, you know, who have experienced or witnessed domestic violence, makes them feel safe and secure. It's a 6-month intensive therapy program.
How did you explain that to us a little bit? Without, again, I know because it's a therapeutic program, it's hard to get into some of the things that are done. But help us understand how, is it art therapy?
There is art therapy. And art therapy, I mean, back when I was in college, you know, learning about education, it wasn't utilized like this, but it's been found to be a very effective tool. And actually, you know, the pictures that the kids draw and the parents draw, Family Connections has had them made into note cards and things like that. They're very heartfelt, very simple sometimes, very complex other times, but it's a good expressive way to deal with trauma.
You've seen some of these pictures.
I have indeed.
You know, I'm thinking about this because pictures, children draw pictures, and if we don't look closely at those pictures, we can miss all kinds of things. What have you seen in some of these pictures?
Well, there was one picture in particular that we have always felt was very meaningful, and it looks like, you know, a figure moving off into the distance. I don't know what it just looks so free. And actually, we think it's so pretty that when a board member retires from Family Connections, that's the picture we frame and give to them as a parting gift, because it kind of, maybe they're moving out of the problems that they faced. Trauma is a big issue with everyone, you know, and if they can express it and see the future free, that's great.
For these children, and again, describe the geographic area that we're talking about. Even though the issue of domestic violence is an epidemic across this country, societal issue, describe the communities you serve.
Well, we serve many communities, very frankly, from Passaic all the way down to, you know, Newark, Irvington, Maplewood, South Orange, Milburn, West Orange, Livingston, Newark.
So I want to understand something. So if someone says, oh, it's an urban issue, you say?
Urban, suburban. Domestic violence, I don't think it knows any bounds.
And for children, it's interesting with Family Connections, you're involved, you make this difference. What happens for a child that doesn't get that kind of therapy?
That's the real problem. You know, the objective is to help children overcome the trauma in their lives so that they become healthy, emotionally healthy, and they can become competent adults, that they can be proficient members of society. I think if they don't get the help they need, they're playing catch-up for the rest of their lives.
Back up.
Okay.
Playing catch-up. Help us understand what that means, for example.
Well, when we talk about trauma and how it imprints on a person, even as an adult, I believe, I'm not a psychiatrist, Steve, but it's always there if they haven't dealt with it effectively or had some help dealing with it, learning the skills to help them overcome the stress of that. That's what it's all about.
Talk to us a little bit more about Family Connections, some of the other programs that really stand out, that you believe make a difference, particularly in the lives of children.
Well, you know, we have 4 programs that deal with early childhood education, and it goes right through the seniors, you know, seniors and addictions and drug abuse and parenting, you know, parents, fathers as strong fathers, mothers as strong mothers. The ones for children in early childhood, especially parents as teachers, that really starts with...
Back up, parents as teachers.
Parents as teachers, that's the name of the program.
It's called Parents as Teachers.
Yeah, and what it does is it goes right in maybe when someone's pregnant or just had their first baby, and it helps them understand child development. Some people don't know that, and they don't have the resource of a family or an older sister or brother or friends, a circle of friends to tell them that things are going well or not going well. And that's what this program does. It's home visitation, supplying the things that they need, the advice, the connections, the resources that they don't have.
How'd you get into this?
When I was mayor of Maplewood.
You were mayor of Maplewood over what period of time?
I was on the committee from 1990 to 2001. I was mayor from 94 through 97. I had to appoint someone, our representative, to that board, and I got very intrigued by the agency. And then when my term as mayor was over, the last term, someone asked me if I would join. I was really impressed with the work they did, because when you're, and you know this more than anyone else because of your family's involvement with the communities, that you learn an awful lot about people and their problems. And I knew that there had to be help out there, and I really appreciated and respected the work that Family Connections did.
And so you were drawn to them.
So I joined them, and I've been there ever since. This is my final year. It's a long time.
It is.
Yeah, I'm a media past president, and it's a busy, busy place.
It's interesting when we talk about this whole idea of, in the few seconds we have left, about helping children be the best that they can be.
That's right.
You know, we often think, well, that's the school's role, that's a teacher's role, that's so-and-so's role, or it's just a parent's role. It does take everyone.
It's a global situation. It's everybody's involvement. The child care, the caregiver, the guardian of the child, most important person in that child's life.
And it also takes organizations
Absolutely.
like Family Connections,
Family Connections.
bringing folks together and making a difference every day. Ellen Davenport is the former chair and now board member of a terrific organization around for 135 years called Family Connections. Thank you very much, Ellen. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, which supports early childhood education through Grow Up Great, the New Jersey Education Association, PSE&G, Qualcare Inc., Kessler Foundation, Cone Resnick, and by United Airlines. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com, and by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.